I'm Jacob.
I'm Shadi.
I'm Marcel.
I'm Yazan.
And we are the T4f.
And we have a stranger.
We have a new pop today. What is your name?
My name's Zach. I broke into the house earlier.
Yes.
He's not a fob. Also.
He's had his tea and his coffee, so he's a part of the family. He's a part of
Now we're here.
What's up, F.o.b.s fam? Thanks for tuning back
to
Another week, another
Welcome
guest.
back to the best podcast in this basement right here.
Whoa.
We are watching
what
it
they're
live. It's the
learning
first time ever.
You guys are
You're
going to
on
learn English
TikTok
one
live
day,
right
right?
now as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Zach,
Thank you, Zach, first of all. for
yeah,
joining
thank you
us.
for joining us today.
We know it's
for the invite.
busy times, and you took time out of
Yeah,
your life
dude,
to-
holidays, man.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I
man.
appreciate you. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, of course, man.
Tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, I'm 29. I live here currently. I'm gonna move into a van. I post silly little videos on the internet addressing mental health, and I was once called a piece of shit in the army.
Wow, that's interesting.
What happened in the? Why was that?
Well, good.
What's that?
Piece of shit.
They didn't like me. I don't think they liked me.
I think to
You
be
seem like too nice for the army. So you seem like a genuine person.
I think to be someone that's like pointed out or like someone that's like not hated but
Singled out.
just singled out in something like the army, you have to do something pretty or not do something, but you have to be a pretty special person. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would think,
At least you made the list.
Yeah,
That's what
actually-
the list is about.
I'd rather be a piece of shit in the army than someone who was never known to in the army.
There's
Definitely a great way to look at it.
There's a movie called Hawkstar Ridge. Have you seen that movie?
I've not.
With Andrew Garfield?
Is that who it is?
Is that what that is?
I think so.
He was like a medic that didn't want to hold a gun, and it's based on a true story, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's based on a true
Like a
story.
conscientious objector.
Exactly what he was. Yeah, and that's why everybody there hated him. But then in the movie, he turns out to be like the best guy in the military.
Hopefully
Yeah,
became a movie
didn't he
star.
capture a whole bunch of people?
No,
but
so he
saved
didn't.
a bunch
He
of people.
saved them. So they were at the Hawkstar Ridge thing where, they pretty much got shot up, right? And everyone ran away, but he stayed up there and he started lowering down all the wounded soldiers and brought them all back. And they actually next week they went back to that same spot and they said they wouldn't go back on there unless if that person was there.
So you guys don't need to watch the movie anymore.
Yeah.
Right, now you know the whole movie.
Makes
I'm saying that's what you are. You're
Zach,
great.
what did you do? What did you do in the army?
I was actually a linguist, so they taught me Korean. Yeah, that's
Was your job to translate or like to or not translate but to
my job was really to learn it, and then I got out before I really
Used it.
Yeah, before I really used it.
Yes.
There was like underlying stuff. In my
You don't mind me asking, how long were you in there for?
3 years.
Oh, wow. Was that what? Mid-20s? Mid-2010s?
No, that was 2012.
Oh, yeah. That's beginning of 10s.
Yeah, and then I got out 2015.
Oh, I see.
Do you still know Korean?
I think that I know the. I think I know the alphabet. I think I know the alphabet. I haven't used it in a while, so
Yeah.
you know, it could be up. That's
Fair, man.
we'll find out.
Maybe. Throw me in a room full of other Korean speakers. Probably
gonna run
not.
Probably would not. Yeah, for sure.
You know more Korean than us.
That's at least that. Yeah.
So do you think that you completely changed as a person before and after the army? Because I feel like that's kind of like not a very, very large step, but it's definitely, I guess, life-changing to enlist into the army.
Yeah. I honestly, yes. I I think I've changed myself a lot since high school, you know, because I joined right out of high school, right? Like I went to a semester of college and then I joined the army. And then because I was like, you know, I don't want to do college, and then they sent me back to college basically because
In the military.
Paid for though, right? Of course.
yeah, paid for. Well, it's paid for, and they also pay me well.
Oh my god.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, you have to serve after. So it's not like out of their goodness of their heart.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like an enlistment requirement.
Yeah.
They kick you out for medical stuff. Which
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I really tried, you know. I really tried to have a broken brain, but it's okay. Yeah, no, I think I did. There was a lot of stuff that happened while I was in the army, and then at the end, I sort of like went to like a mental health hospital and admitted myself to the ward, right? The psych ward, and you know, I was a grippy sucks patient.
So, for the FOB viewers that don't know, Zach's TikTok is heavily like based on mental health. He talks about mental health obviously firsthand. He has all the experience that he needs to have with mental health in general. I think an important question, just so that we can get into his like niche of what he does. What's your opinion on not opinion on mental health, but how do you
View it.
how has mental health like affected your life? How do you
Or how has mental health helped you perceive other things in life?
not just help but affected you? Because I mean, it doesn't always help you.
Oh no, it
It
doesn't.
actually never.
It mainly
It doesn't.
doesn't.
No, it mainly does. Also, it's half half.
Hold on.
It's
What do
half half, you guys.
What's your take?
I think it's heavily faceted, right? Like, I think on a day-to-day basis, it varies wildly, and like it's really unfortunate because I think as a society, like I grew up in like the very deep South, where like it was heavily stigmatized to experience sort of anything because it's very religious and it's very spiritual and it's very very about God holding power over everything, and so like when you present with a mental health issue, it can often be written off as like, well, you need to give it to the creator, right? And like that can really downplay the issues that are at hand, because then people sort of like have this repository that they can then put all of their problems in. That doesn't really solve anything. It's not a compost bin that you can like put food in and it just like decomposes and provides something else. Religion was that vessel for me to like really invest in my mental health, sort of like in this opposite way that religion works, where it's like you're taught to like put your problems on this almighty creator without really taking responsibility and taking care of yourself. So growing up in the South, like mental health was heavily stigmatized, and then later on in life I realized that like, hey, I needed to come out of the closet as well. I needed to do all of these other things to provide for my brain. And so when I moved out here, about a year later at 26, I came out of the closet as bisexual, and like that alleviated a lot of stress that I was under, that, helped me organize my thoughts, that helped me be who I wanted to be, because I had been living in this sort of like bubble that I put there myself, admittedly, right? I built up a lot of walls because I was very uncomfortable growing up in the military. And I also grew up in a military family that was very like testosterone driven, right? And so like coming out as anything but straight is not necessarily like looked well right. upon. But after I left the military, I realized that therapy was probably beneficial, and so I started going to therapy. I've taken some time off here and there for therapy, and like this upcoming year, I'm gonna take some time off to really like develop my sense of self and things like that I do love. And but yeah, does that answer your question?
No,
that was great answer.
Perfectly.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was
Great
definitely. Yeah, man. Like honestly, I don't even know what to say. Like that's also awesome, and I think it's cool that it really shows you that it's really about the journey of finding yourself and not expecting to 100% feel better and just be 100% better the next day. It's definitely going to take some time, and I think that it's a great example of that and how you just keep pushing. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it's obviously a whole different ball game, but I would say us like growing up in like Middle Eastern households. He was saying like he grew up in a military family where like testosterone, like driven by testosterone, like men have to be men and strong and tough, and I feel like us also like Arab men are supposed to, I feel like
There's a lot of toxic.
Masculinity.
yeah, I mean,
you can't be soft, you can't have feelings, you can't like.
I mean, even your earrings are
Right.
a little like on the edge. So.
It's generational breaking. Like,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right.
And as far as therapy, I know for like
Mental health in Jordan is non-existent, so it's not even.
isn't a thing.
There's no
Also,
conversation there.
That's what he said about like the Almighty and just dropping all of your
That's
problems
us.
to that. I definitely think like some people do misuse it, and it actually makes it a lot worse.
It's not a band-aid for everything that happens.
Right. But, because it's obviously, put your problems and faith in whatever it is, and it'll help it. But again, like he said, if you just dump everything and not expect anything to change or take accountability, it's just never going to change.
It becomes an excuse, and you almost just stop working on progress.
And just
when
say it's
you're
up to
actually
God.
Just getting worse and stagnant. When I think no matter what you do in life, you have to work. Like I mean, you gotta.
Right. No matter what, nothing comes. If hard work made everyone the best of their abilities, everyone would be the best ever. Like it would.
I mean, there's luck to it too.
There's definitely.
I mean, mental health.
And mental health.
Mental health is like almost impossible to even control. I mean, I would think of
When
mental
it comes
health.
to the very broad question, does money buy happiness?
Well,
Like,
you
it's-
our last episode, you said yes.
I think for me, it would buy me happiness.
Just to,
if I'm being honest.
yeah, just to leave that out there.
Well, we have to just piggyback off of this point for a second. I agree with him. I think money does buy happiness. I think that dedication buys joy. And that joy is that underlying factor that a lot of us like overlook, like what makes us joyful, not just what makes us happy. Like happy, I'm happy on a I'm happy on a jet ski.
I'm happy on a fucking jet.
I'm happy on a fucking jet ski. But you know, like the joy in my life comes from like
Not material things.
not material things, right? It comes from like the way that I invest my time. And, like,
It's just a cherry on top.
right? Yeah.
I will say that the last couple months, just in general, like weather-wise, just the world, it's like the day getting darker earlier and everything. Mental health, I know for me for sure, but I know a bunch of other people too, has been put to a test. And I think that like finding joy and finding your joy and finding ways to like improve your mental health, for me even like has been probably one of the most important things to like keep my day going, because I know mental health, when like your mental health is screwed and you can't control it, it can literally ruin your day, week, month, and it's something
You can let it control your entire life.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't control it, it'll control you. You gotta choose which way it's going.
It's like a grimy little parasite that never dies.
Yeah.
What would you guys say are remedies that you have found to improve mental health when you're in a really bad slump, or like, you know, like
I recognize habits. I recognize bad habits, like a dirty room, dirty clothes, just bad eating habits. And when I realize that these are kind of things that keep on happening, then I realize it's not really, I'm not in the best state of mind currently. That's how I really know. But from that, I really feel like it's kind of hard personally to tell if I'm really going through something. I think my daily habits are the only thing that really reflect off of it when it comes to like chores and just being more clean than usual.
Okay, yeah. Shadi,
What was the question again?
you like what are like successful? What are remedies that you have found to be successful in like?
Remedies, right? So yeah, I think
F.o.b.s things, you know. You gotta explain.
no. He
Think multiple
answered the
times.
wrong question.
Well, no, because
How do you fix your mental health when you feel
Right, that's the
But
question.
that's a hard question, though. It's like,
how do I fix
Those
it?
are two different
I set those
things.
things back on track. That helps me.
Okay.
It's the reset.
I think I would say I don't know. I think like finding a creative outlet might be something that I would use to help my mental health, or I would like read or watch a movie or see somebody else being creative to help me out.
I will also say that seeing someone else close to me having a lot of fun and them bringing me into it also is a great feeling. That really uplifts me. I mean, it's just
literally most of it, like if you're, like you said, if it's you're just in your own room, just staying there the whole time, and like your clothes are on the ground, and it's like the room is dark and everything, you're in the entire time.
You can feel the
Literally, bro, just leaving your room is the biggest first step.
And just see the sun outside.
Like as soon as you walk
touch
out
the
of
grass.
that right there, from that point on, you can't, like, as long as you don't walk back into that room, it's only up from there. You go outside, you just go on drive, listen to music, and just think about whatever it is that's going on. That's what I think would help the best.
Drive.
If you just like sit there and just, you know, it's happening. You know, it's in a dark room. You like your clothes are on the ground. You're not doing anything about it. There's literally like, I don't even know how to, like, it's. There's no thing.
You're almost trapped in your mind.
Right, you know it, and you're allowing it to happen. That'll only allow it to take more control. At that point, you're just looking at the half-empty glass. You need to find the half-full glass, and it starts by you just walking outside. You didn't have to talk to someone. You talk to yourself. But then again, if you get that the mindset of it is what it is, which is what I've had, that'll only brings it right back to where it was.
But also, I think
In a way, you can also use it.
just
again.
metaphorically, just leaving your room. I also think that's the hardest part about the
Right.
entire thing, which is
Right.
why that's where everyone's kind of stuck. It's
Yeah.
not
You
as
know what
easy
I
to
think is
just take that step. That first step's always going to be the hardest.
In my opinion, one of the hardest parts, because this is something that I've tried to do when I'm like going through a rut. I've tried to turn off social media, and I think if I could just like push myself to turn off social media when I'm going through a rut and stuff, and like stop seeing like like certain things that I see, like that would also help a lot with mental health, because I think social media just like throws our frustrated minds like in the freaking-
Mostly because it shows you all these like influencers that post only the good stuff, and you see that, and your mind is like, oh, that's what it should be. And if yours is just any under that, which is what most people would consider normal, because you're watching and you're only seeing what's perfect, right? And you're in real life, you're experiencing what's not perfect.
And
And you wouldn't know that because all you see is what's perfect. If those celebrities just show what their part of the day that's not perfect, I bet you it'll make all of us think like, oh, they're going through that. I'm going through that. It's the same thing. Like this is a normal life. It's just them doing that puts a lot on you. If you're just constantly only looking at that.
I'm on Twitter a lot, and it's really chaotic. And so I don't necessarily do that much Instagram because of that, but Twitter is quite fun. It's a great way for
Yeah.
the pro. I wanted him to go last so he can like give in like the deeds. You know, so we can get
I'm gonna start off on the social media thing. The algorithms nowadays are very powerful.
Very good.
They sort of like detect your moods, right? So, and especially with like TikTok and like this like transitioning into like these really compressed media timing events, right? Because like we started off with Vine, where those 6 seconds were really integral to like captivating an audience. And so like with TikTok, and Musical.ly before it, they used that model and they were like, well, we're just going to extend it a couple seconds to 15 seconds, right?
2 minutes.
And then it goes to 1 minute, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it may be. And so social media has gotten really smart in that you captivate an audience in the first like half a second, and the algorithm knows, because if you linger on something too long for any social media, it feeds you related content. And so now you have a net of sad stuff because you're depressed. And so while some of that content might be helpful, most of it just deepens the mood that you're in.
yeah.
And it goes,
It's helpful for the first couple videos because then you're like, oh wait, I'm not alone.
Right.
But then you're like, wait, everyone, you know?
Right. It sort of like dissipates that feeling of familiarity with the topic that you're experiencing. So if you're going through depression, if you're going through anxiety, if you're going through, minor psychosis or something like that, or like BPD episodes, or, like if you're diagnosed with PTSD, so you're having like these PTSD episodes, like it feeds you content from UGC, that user generated content. And so you're not even seeing like major influences or anything. You're seeing normal people experiencing the same things. And so there's that relatability, but there's also that just sad content.
Go through a rabbit hole of just bad
Hey, now
content.
listen, I get caught in that hole too. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes I just sit there and scroll and I go, oh man, I'm so sad now.
Dude, sadness becomes the new norm.
Dude, have you guys ever heard of an app that tells you to get off of the app? When you scroll too
Yeah,
much,
TikTok's like,
TikTok
hey.
knows how addictive it is. It'll tell you
You've been
take a
scrolling
break.
for- yeah.
You've been scrolling for too long.
Have you seen that?
Oh yeah,
Personally?
I'm guilty, dude. I'll
Yeah.
spend
I've
I know
seen
it's a
that.
lot of
I've seen
hours.
It'll
I've
be like
seen that
3
quite a
a.m. and
lot.
I'll be like, it'll like show up on my feed and it'll be like, hey, you've been scrolling for a while.
well, it's
Have
like, you don't know me,
going
dog.
to sleep?
Are
And I'm
you
like,
okay?
no, scroll.
Are you okay?
It's like, no, I haven't, but like whatever, that's fine.
And the algorithm, I don't know if it's like them, like microphones to the phone or whatever, but it like catches stuff with me like that is updated. Like it's not just giving me videos that I've like been watching for a year. It'll like something will happen new in my life, or I'll start talking to someone new, and it'll like give me videos based on like something that I'm going through like within the last week or two. So it's not like it's just through algorithm. It's like I feel like it's almost here. Like
It detects what you're gonna
Have you
go.
have you
It,
guys
like it has it ready.
have you guys heard or seen Social Dilemma?
Yeah.
It came out around after COVID, I think like beginning 2021. But it's literally the whole thing's about this and how they literally do track you and they put you in these specific social groups to where the algorithm knows and separates the content into these specific groups.
yeah, but I feel like for people, for if they know, so say TikTok knows that they're giving the depressed TikToks to the specific group. So you detect this group, but instead of giving this TikTok group the depressing TikToks, why not give them ones that are up?
You won't make that much money.
Yeah, right. Because
That's
They're
not how-
not gonna watch it.
right.
They're already
That's the
depressed.
whole
They're
point.
not gonna.
I think it's the fact that sad people sometimes want to be sad. Happy people want to be happy. Someone in between wants to be in between, right? Like we love consistency in our states, and it's as humans, I think that's like an unattainable ideal, right? Like we can be consistent to a degree, but at the same time, like we lose that consistency because our brains are kind of weird sometimes, and they go through stuff, and it's just human. It's human to do those things. And so the rate of technology is sort of like outpacing our human brains. And it's like, you deserve this content now. You don't deserve any of this. And so it's segmenting these really large portions of the population that are like, oh man, I'm in this niche now. I'm in this one. And like, it just feeds whatever mentality that you're in, right? So like,
It's almost impossible to get out of that like,
it really is.
topic or that need.
A lot of people are chronically online nowadays.
Yeah.
Like they're glued to it, and a lot of their personalities end up being an output of all the content that they're receiving.
Right.
Yeah, and people, they just like re-say like memes and like TikTok videos that they've seen, and that becomes their personality, and it goes on to the next person and the next person.
But I also like what he said. Like it's kind of like natural for that time, because when I'm sad, I will make sure my saddest playlist is playing.
Right.
I will
Right.
make sure if I'm sad, I'm going to be sad to
and
the
that's
fullest.
that's super healthy sometimes. But when it's that constant,
to an extent.
it's that constant. So like when you're no longer feeling sad and you're still being fed sad content.
Yeah.
That's true. I guess you're in a
Like,
comfortable
you're-
box of where you're
Yeah, I mean-
mentally supposed to be here when
Right.
you're not.
Like I said,
But like if you throw on some sad songs and you're like, I'm gonna work this out in the 15 minutes that are playing "Creep" by Coldplay, right? Like I'm gonna work this out right now, and then I'm gonna move on. I think personally, I think that's how humans should work, just generally. But
to just let it roll out.
yeah, just listen to. Oh, sorry, is that Radiohead? I think "Creep" was Radiohead.
I was so confused for a second. I was like, what do you mean Coldplay?
Sorry, they're another sad band. That's
Problem. So I did want to kind of go into this next kind of section, because we were talking about mental health and how the other people we perceive on online, we think they have these great lives and everything. How would it be if you know, because this is actually going to be our fun question, guys, because we didn't actually start with one. If you had to be left with one person in the world, and it's just you two, who would it be? And I bring that up now because it's like you guys said earlier, we don't know if we'd actually like these people in real life. Sometimes I'd be thinking, man, I would vibe with this person. And other times it's like, I probably would not like this person, although his content I relate to a lot and I like it.
I was gonna choose my brother.
I was gonna say
Which one?
when we wrote down that question, my head never thought to celebrities.
Yeah,
I
didn't think of
like
celebrities.
never in a million chance would have ever thought.
Why would you
about-
choose out of
Because
someone
if
you don't
I'm
know.
by myself, I would rather have 12 rooms with LeBron and his pool. And
You can have his
theater.
pool,
But you're by
can have
yourself.
his pool, 'cause
Right,
no
but, I'm
way,
just-
you
but
just go.
if I'm being honest, but if I'm with my brother, how am I going to access this person?
you break into his pool. There's nobody,
nobody
there.
there.
How do I know where this person lives?
You can literally go anywhere in the
I'll
world.
find it. I am
Yeah,
not gonna waste my time.
just-
Actually, you guys are wrong about that. If I was left on, I would go with one of my
listen,
boys
dog,
break
I
into
think-
people's homes.
Right, you don't have to go to work or nothing.
Lives probably 30 minutes from here.
He does.
We
He
can
does.
catch Peyton Manning.
Definitely can go
Catch
into
Peyton
Peyton
So
Manning's
just
crib.
go hop in his pool.
That's true. That's
Right.
True.
Why are you thinking of
You were
LeBron?
thinking
I'm
too
thinking
small, because, dude, because of all his things, it's like maybe he knows where the keys to his yacht.
What about Elon
I'm going
Musk?
to Dubai and fucking living in the.
He seems insufferable. I don't like him.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But, I mean, but
Period.
Dubai looks nice. Dubai looks nice.
It definitely looks nice. You know, when power's going and it's not just you there. At that point, you're just in the desert.
But
Which is-
I see where you're coming from though, because I feel like when you're talking about like celebrities being outshined, like we do put so much freaking like of our idolization and stuff into these celebrities, and obviously like they care about people and stuff. But at the end of the day, like
They're just
our mental
celebrities.
health can only be affected and like helped by us, not about what. No.
No.
What about your friends
no.
or people who like know about you and care about you? I'm not saying LeBron doesn't care about you, but if you're not paying him, he's not gonna look
I
at
would
you.
say he doesn't care about.
yeah, but imagine
LeBron
all the
100%
people
doesn't
on
care
Earth.
about
He's
you.
not even looking at. Yeah, I
Might
guess.
be eyeing you.
Yeah, he might be eyeing you from across the room.
He might think about you. He might think
He
about
might give you a little wink.
Table.
Right. In his pool, just hanging out.
Right.
Sorry, LeBron. Don't.
He's telling me to get cocktails. Cocktails are on the way.
If you do want to invite us over to your house, LeBron.
Right.
LeBron, if you
know.
want to do a podcast in LeBron's house,
Yeah, we just want to do a podcast.
Taco Tuesday.
You said Elon Musk. Why would you pick Elon Musk?
I say.
Because you said you wanted a billionaire, and I was like, oh, Elon Musk.
see again, we're just following the money, but you guys are
But
not
also-
thinking.
oh,
Think
money
about
is
LeBron
not
did
a
not
thing
choose.
When it's just you two alive.
Hold on.
He can create.
If I love basketball. I love playing basketball. Playing basketball with LeBron for the rest of my life would be so sick.
Taking
I'm
with
not
Taylor
better
Swift
than
would be
LeBron.
the
Think about this though. LeBron is going to die before you, so it's not the rest of your life; it's the rest of LeBron's life,
That's what I was
and it's the
gonna say.
rest of LeBron's playable life.
Right, but what am I supposed to do? Pick a 12-year-old?
Pick someone your age.
or that. That's that's doable too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I would go with
I don't
Taylor
know a
Swift.
lot of interesting people my age.
And just
no
know,
offense.
just know your life expectancy will drop if it's
Right.
just you two.
Absolutely.
So-
we're gonna live it.
All right, no, that's fair.
I
That's
know,
fair.
but you guys definitely got me though, because it's like I think it would definitely be more cool to go with one of your closest friends and break into all of these homes and experience all of the different ones.
I think love is too. I want to fall in
man,
love.
it's
I would want a
always going
significant
to
other.
love, bro.
I would
See,
want a significant other. With
I was thinking of
Do you wanna
asking.
reproduce-
Such a risky gamble.
Would you want to
That
reproduce?
is such a risky
I mean,
gamble.
even if this person loses
A
feelings
best
for me, what are you
friend,
gonna do?
She'll still find a way to cheat on you.
That's just weird, bro.
Dude,
Okay,
it's like modern day Adam and Eve. It's
Yeah,
like,
well,
it's
yeah.
like my kids and then their kids and then their kids.
It's gonna increase my chest.
You're gonna end up ruling the world.
Your family tree is just gonna be
You.
trunk.
Great. Jeez. Oh, we restarted it. I didn't even. Wow.
So I have a question. Do they have to be alive currently?
Ooh.
I mean, time travel is not a thing,
But
so
if
I
we're
don't think you
talking
can
about
use that
age,
yet.
Yes, because we said LeBron's gonna die before.
Okay.
right. Right.
If
fair.
if age and aliveness sort of that wasn't a factor, would that change your answer?
I think Bill Nye. He just seems like a
no.
fun guy.
Oh,
He seems
my
like a
God.
fun guy.
It's
And
a
he
no
would
for
have-
me.
He would probably have what, like max like 30, 35 years before like he's gone. I don't know how old he is.
Right. He's actually like his 60,
Yeah.
65.
I don't know.
You know.
So like feasibly, you have a few years with him where you can just learn a whole bunch of stuff, and then you'd be like, "Bye, Bill Nye."
I
I do my own thing.
and improve.
I'm more of a loner, so
I only wanted to
and I
use you
hope
for a
Bill-
little.
I
bit.
hope Bill Nye
crazy.
understands.
I mean, we all did that to him. I feel like we all did that to him as a world.
Right,
We
right.
said, "Bye, Bill. Thanks."
Middle school, yeah, we learned everything, and then
It's like ninth grade all over again.
That kind of brings me to like Brittany Griner, bro, and a lot of people. It's kind of messed up, but I'm gonna say a lot of people were like, if you were in jail in Russia off of like a car, how would she feel about it? What would she do for you?
what? Let's.
That's kind of I don't know.
What
I
does she
relate that.
feel
I
about the
don't know.
trade, though?
Stop.
Whoa.
Guys.
Yeah, we're not
Guys.
going there, right?
Take it
Okay, I'm sorry, we're not going there.
Because
We traded a D1.
We're not going. But it's just crazy. Like, what does she feel about the trade?
I don't know, man.
I mean, does it matter? She's free.
right.
An American citizen is back.
Right, but a
Sorry, I'm not
Russian.
going into this.
No,
A
no, I mean,
Russian
that's
that was trying to kill American citizen is now also free.
Do you guys hear about the military men? Or I think there's like 2 guys that's still out there. And
I think it's important to know, one, that these military men were never an option to be traded with to begin
I
with.
still don't know who they are. So after
That's one. Two, the person that we trade, the arms dealer that we traded Brittany Garner for, only has 6 years on his sentence left.
right.
So we can't be like, oh, but these military men,
No, I was
it
just
doesn't
gonna
work
say-
like that.
No, obviously it doesn't work like that. I was just going to say a lot of people are very outraged because
These people don't understand how politics works. You have to play the game,
Yes,
and
but
he
that's
was
the- I
never,
don't know how
and
the
he was,
game
went that
and he was never a part of
I
that.
mean, it is my fault for sure, but I just want to throw.
after you guys finish this talk, I have another question.
It's just
about mental health.
just the fact that there's people that served for the country, and this is them talking, not me. I personally, it is what it is. I'm over here, they're over there.
Right.
That's about it. But I think it's the fact that they served for their country, but they're not even in any kind of conversation of being traded or sent back home. A lot of people are outraged from that.
Because part of being in the military, it's part of being in the military. It's sometimes that this will happen.
Right.
But being
at
an
least they weren't
athlete.
murdered in war. At least they were.
But being an athlete, you're not
you sign
signing
your life away
You're
when
not
you're
signing up to be taken hostage in a hostile foreign country. That's not part of the contract you sign when you become an athlete. That's something. It's very much might happen if you're in the military.
She did
No
sign
offense
something.
to.
Wait, I'm just saying.
Sign the contract that she might be held
With
hostage.
why do you guys think she went to Russia?
To play
Because she
basketball.
plays
Yeah.
professionally out there. There's contracts that she 100% knew.
But I think what he's saying is that like in the military you do kind of sign your life
Right,
away.
Yeah.
absolutely,
Like I'm gonna do anything and everything to serve.
You
whatever,
are signing
whatever
up
country.
for this.
Again,
In
also
in this case it's America. But
for officials, their thing is, she's a civilian. He's a militant. He knows how to handle himself if he was in a bad situation. She does not.
Right. It sucks that she kind of, although I don't think she 100%, I'm sure she was doing that for many, many years, but just because of
She could have stopped
politics
for a couple of
around
days,
it or
yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. But I guess around the bad politics and the wars going around, I definitely think that had a big influence on why she was captured.
I like
Oh, yeah,
speculating with
definitely.
you guys.
Yeah, this is
do.
some podcasts, man. Will end up forgetting everything that we've talked about, and we'll argue on one thing that does not matter to anyone.
But us.
But it doesn't
But
even
we're
matter to
enjoying
us.
it because our podcast, we're doing this.
Right.
I understand.
Right.
It's creative liberty. It's fine.
I hope you guys don't mind turning back to the mental health, just because there's more.
Yeah,
things
we
that
were
can
just trying to
do.
bring light to a situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like we've talked a lot about
Brittany
mental
Griner's
health.
mental health.
Right.
Did she? I mean,
Dude, no, there's pictures,
We can move on.
there's pictures going out of Brittany Griner, and I don't know if it's fake or not, but it's like her shirtless
AI
and it's a
generated.
guy. And it's like, it looks like a straight guy, and they're like, yeah, we didn't even get her back. They just
Dude.
sent a dude back. It's kind of messed up.
It's very messed up.
That is quite messed
Yeah,
up.
but the internet's undefeated. Who are you going to tell that's messed up, man? The internet will do anything.
Elon Musk have him put a poll to it.
A poll? He put out a poll, and they I think the higher percentage, the higher side was for him to stop.
He's like
to sell
canceled it.
Twitter, and he canceled the poll.
Yeah, he canceled the poll.
Hilarious.
He's like, I'm not gonna buy that.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm not gonna step down as Twitter CEO.
do any of you,
Democracy? I don't believe in
do
that.
any of you guys think he should sell Twitter?
no,
that was never the
it's just-
poll.
He's messing around and didn't get the response he wanted.
Yeah, it's like from now on, it's gonna be only
Okay,
more
but also,
subscribers.
you guys, back to the whole Elon thing. Did you guys see how the people he fired were talking about him?
Oh,
How,
it's
like
because
what
he
kind of
realized
person he
couldn't
really is?
Run Twitter.
He still can't run Twitter.
Yeah, they're like,
period.
he's just like he's like I think they said like a racist white like.
Could you not see that? Like from
No, I can, but it's just like people who have met him and like they were bringing up things that no one like knew
I haven't
about
met
him.
him, and I know that too.
Well, yeah. Well, he's from like pre-apartheid South Africa, so like that's even later than like desegregation
yeah,
America.
his- no,
you know, like,
No, his I don't know
Doesn't know
I don't
anything about
know
racism.
if this can even go on the podcast, but his brother, they live here in Colorado and they own
restaurant.
restaurants here that I know someone that worked on, and you know what? We'll just move on.
Not the best.
I got you back.
It's not. Yeah, we'll
love
leave
it.
it to the next
I love
podcast.
it.
In the next
Energy.
10 years, if I had to stay with someone on Earth, it would be Elon to go up on
Oh,
his
but that's
tower
that
goes
question.
up
I
into the
forgot that.
elevator. Because you guys hear about that elevator up to space that he's building?
There's no elevator to space.
That's fake news.
No, it's not, guys. That's real. You guys have not heard about it. I swear that's real.
It's the Tower of Babylon. It's
Right.
It's unattainable. It's unattainable.
about
And
just
every
going
person that
to,
works
like-
on
It
will
is
lose their
unattainable.
language, right? Like
You can't build a
physics
ship
and-
to go up there. How are we going to build an
I
elevator?
don't think they're
That's-
going to space. I think
if
if you
Elon
leave the
we trust.
atmosphere,
No.
which I believe is only like what 50,000 feet.
Oh, well, only?
If you leave that, no, because you could. Okay, so there's a weather balloon. Hold on, there's a weather balloon, right?
Also, 50,000 is way more than that.
I
That you can-
skydived
hold on.
15,000 feet out of the sky.
I said
We fly 35,000.
That's what I said.
And they
50.
come-
Hold on. I've seen YouTube videos, right, where they have this big giant weather balloon and they like attach an apple to it and they let it go and it goes up like I'd say 50, 60,000 feet. And in theory and technicality, it does reach beyond the atmosphere. Therefore, it is technically in space. So I don't think when you guys are talking about he's building an elevator to go to space, you guys are automatically think to like the moon or all the way to space. Technically, as soon as you leave the atmosphere, which it could still be right above the atmosphere, you are technically in space.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
So
I got you.
building an elevator, I don't think he's gonna make it that high up because you got wind and airplanes and stuff going through. But in technicality, going to space does not mean you have to go all the way up to. Like as soon as you exit that the atmosphere, which you can, and people have literally brought like, but you can put a banana to space for fun. If you just buy, and I've
Earth,
seen
banana for scale. Like,
right, and I've seen like YouTubers do it, and like scientists have like I've seen scientists,
I think I've seen a
YouTubers do
YouTube
it.
Video of a guy with like a specialized drone, and it just goes straight up and nothing else, and it went pretty high up.
So this is cool. Like this is an elevator to go this high up. Usually when I use an elevator, it's like to get off of, to go onto like another floor.
Right.
What
Yeah.
happens when you get off of this elevator? that
Yeah.
Space.
I don't think you get off that.
you
elevator.
lose
just-
oxygen, and that's it. That's the
No,
whole
no, no,
experience.
no. It's like an
Period.
airplane.
go right
It's-
back to the chocolate shack.
God, like fucking-
That's what happens.
you go skydiving for real. No, but I'm saying like, so you just is the
You go up, you look, and you come down.
So the
You would
mean,
not leave the elevator because you would have to be pressurized and stuff.
so it's a Ferris or Tower of Doom, but slowed down, or like a Ferris.
Not even.
Period.
You're going up, not down. First of all,
you
So
go
it's
up
not-
and down.
Right, but it's,
You have to come down.
It's not.
I hope you come down.
You're right.
better come back down.
With Elon Musk's like creations, and sometimes you don't come back down. Sometimes you ride in that Tesla and you don't come back
He's
down.
still high, so still rolling.
It's crazy you say that, bro. I'm pretty sure he's getting sued.
Oh, from billions.
Right,
Yeah,
well, no,
by a
just
lot
for
of
his like
people.
Tesla autopilot.
Yeah.
People think just because it says autopilot and they're wording this,
They go to
that
sleep.
didn't
Yeah,
have
because
to
he
touch the car
promised.
at all.
Because he promised that it's gonna be at a certain point, and it's not right now.
Right,
It's
right.
full self-driving isn't even out.
It's
Right.
not. I don't think it'll ever be.
No, it will be.
Yes, it will.
That's what they're trying to do.
So, I think.
I think it's one of the next steps.
Yeah, I mean, beta is technically out.
No,
the beta
it's not.
full self. Some KBHT made a video about
The
it.
beta.
Anyways, back to our
Yeah, I'm
podcast, guys.
Oh, it's good to be back.
My name is Yazan. We are the F.o.b.s.
And we have a special guest.
Stranger that.
Danger, danger.
So we've talked a lot about mental health today, but we haven't talked about what we think mental health is. Or what is men's mental health and how is it different from not just women's mental health, but what makes
I don't know if there's a
there's a difference.
I
I
think
mean,
there's
mental
only
health.
a difference because
It affects
nowadays-
people differently. Everyone gets it affected differently. It's not about your gender. It's about how you get it.
I think it's just
Or
less
about how
viewed
you
as
fight
much
it
as
yourself.
is in women's mental health.
I disagree heavily because I think men's mental health is like overshadowed.
Right.
by
It's not looked at the same for sure.
But I think that's only because of generational trauma. That's just because
Right,
of
but
all
I
of
think,
the toxicity of put your feelings away, don't cry, don't do all
Right.
that. I
Well,
think that's
it's
just a product of it.
Yeah, it's systemic in our society, in our culture, in our government, even, right? Like, I agree with you that I think men's mental health has been primarily overshadowed for mental health as a whole, right? Like, I think individualized mental health has been overshadowed by societal mental health. But I think specifically men's mental health, like we see a lot of these stats, like men men die by suicide at a higher rate than any other demographic, right? And so we kind of have to look at those things, not just with grains of salt, but understand the systematic injustices that have happened to make that a thing. And so societally, we have always been patriarchal, right? And so we've always been focused around men, but we've been focused around men primarily in power. What happens when they're not in power? What happens when the society no longer works for them? What happens when they have diagnosed ADHD or autism or, MDD or PTSD? What happens when not just men, but anybody are diagnosed with those things? They don't fit into the systematic area anymore. They don't fit into the system. And so what we're witnessing now in 2022, but for a while now, for the last probably 20 years that I've noticed, is that mental health is becoming really, really big, but the system can't keep up, right? And I think that has a lot to do with the way it was set up really early on, where we're learning more about the brain as we go, right? So the things that were set up really early on, like the VA systems and things like that for the military, once they get out, understanding psychology, understanding psychiatry, and how those affect an individual patient or something like that. We really have to look at that and be well, this really hasn't been all that developed, and it's still developing currently in this current day and age, which is sort of what we're dealing with now, is that it's not just a men's mental health problem, it's a mental health problem, period. And it's so easy to write off sometimes because we don't see it for the most part, unless someone shows up and they have cuts on their arms, or unless they have done self-harm or harmed others.
Until
or
it's
things
almost
like
too late. I don't want to say
almost
too late, but
right?
you want to prevent. You're supposed to want to prevent. We are supposed to want to prevent any of these things from happening. We're trying to be proactive.
Yeah, I also liked how he said to also get over it in a way is you have to stop categorizing it and put it only as one just mental health.
Yeah.
I think that was great too.
societally, and I think that you can make facilitated programs for certain people going through certain things. Don't get me wrong. So if you want to split that up by gender, that's on you to do. But when we only look at these statistics and when we just rely on statistics, we lose the human element of what mental health actually is. And so if we only look at numbers and be like, well, men are committing suicide at a higher rate than any other demographic, gender-wise, then we sort of eclipse the problem with something that doesn't really matter.
Who cares?
I don't want to say that doesn't matter. I want to take that back. It does matter, but it doesn't matter at like.
It doesn't get us anywhere.
The bigger
It's
scope.
not the bigger picture.
It's not the bigger picture, which is something that we need to be looking at. So it does matter. It's just sort of eclipsing the bigger picture because it's like, oh yeah, so this really scary stat up here that's being purported all over the internet. But there's all this other stuff here, like the systematic injustices that go into like the POC community from like government figures and things like that, and like how society doesn't work for like redlining districts. So people live in poverty more, which means that they experience more mental health issues, which means that they experience food insecurities, which means that they experience all of these things that can be prevented, right? And so like these systems that have been set up historically, you know, I was in English class with you, right? And so like we went over that redlining that one day, right? I don't know if you were there, but so that deeply affects the community that those red line districts foster.
Right, I definitely agree. I think it's like when the system has been kind of not forcefully, but it's kind of pushing them to go into these insecurities and go into these mental health problems. I think they're really pushing it more onto people. So it reflects back onto, it's sad to say, but also they have to go through these things, give them insecurities, and then they put it back into the system with their money, trying to ask for these therapies, all this medication.
Right.
It's kind of like a cycle.
I just think there's more things we can do to like find out why mental health is such a problem right now instead of just showing numbers and results. Worry about the numbers and results of what's affecting the mental health numbers going up. Like he said, poverty numbers. There's so many, like, it's obviously a lot of it is things that are almost out of our control.
Yeah, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So like at the bottom you have very basic stuff like food, shelter, water, things like that. But once you start going up, those are more transcendental things to like your character. And when you can't supply what your character needs, then you start breaking down up here, not just physically, right? And like physically can come along with that because like with depression or anxiety, sometimes you don't have the urge to eat, right? So like you start degrading physically. But yeah, when you live in poverty-stricken areas, there's this really like, and especially in America where there's like no socialized healthcare system, and I'm not going into that, but there's no socialized healthcare system that like readily informs people that like, hey, this is how you take care of your health. You know, like we have, you know, like diagrams from the government, from the CDC or whatever, or like the FDA that's like, hey, this is the food that you should eat. And it's like, well, what if I can't afford the food? What do I do then?
Food stamps.
Right. And so like if I'm just eating high fructose corn syrup, if I'm just eating sugar, if I'm just doing these things,
Since it's all I can afford.
That's all I can afford, that is going to weigh on me because I can't live up to this ideal. And it may be really subconscious, right? Where like you may have never seen the plate of food that the government puts out, and it's like, this is your veggie portion, this is your milk portion, right? And so like you run into that, and it can severely affect people's mental health where like now like our food is killing us, our environment's killing us, and so you have this like sense of dread now that's over the entire community, and it's like, oh man, there's no escaping. And so now you have existential crisis, which I think is what a lot of people are in. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, definitely.
I think that there's.
I get anxiety from just thinking about the fact that like you almost can't, like when he says like there's things that you can't control and things that we almost can't get a hold of. Like that gives me anxiety just thinking about like, imagine like.
I feel like a lot of people, and also like the government and the people that spread all of these things out that are saying this is the standard, they know that, and they know that's what we should be looking over, but they also know that it's always going to be limited. They know that we will always be super close, but we won't actually be able to reach those kind of things that they want us to
how
do.
to make money.
And I think, exactly, and I think that's kind of what gets us. That's why, again, I really think they are pushing us to go through these crises and all these different things. And it happens as a loss. A lot. I mean, I don't...
My bad.
Yeah, who is they? Who is they? You're not getting away from that question. Who's they?
No, because when you say they, it's kind of like you said with like the FDA saying what to eat and a lot of other things of being in poverty and not having the standard living and the standard nutritions that a lot of other people are able to obtain. But the ones that are limited, they won't really... It kind of sucks because they'll always be limited to that area, and they won't really have the chance and opportunities like other people do to excel.
I wouldn't say the FDA has as much control as in like, as what we have access to and stuff.
The FDA just approves things.
I would say
Right.
there's
They're
higher ups
not
that can,
necessarily.
if
But that's why I say they, because it's kind of broad.
A lot of
in
people.
general.
Oh, that
Yeah.
So, you know, I think societally, like in the 80s, and this is not to get political or anything like that, but like with Reagan coming into office and like sort of like splitting up, you know, like where do our tax dollars go? And like we're just gonna
Let the
reduce.
road-
we're
like
never
taxes,
going above
right?
3% ever.
So like, and then never like really raising the federal minimum wage, not even now. And it's like one of those things where you live in abject poverty. Most of us do, right? And poverty, while you may be comfortable in poverty sometimes, like it's still poverty, right? So like if you're making $30,000 a year, guess what? That's poverty. And so even if you don't feel like it, that's still weighing on you. And you're like, well, you know, like I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Well, the system's not made for normal people.
Right.
The system's not made for the proletariat, right? The system's made for people to exploit the working class. And so the system is working as intended. And that's the scary part.
It's
is that
working.
they don't need to change anything because this is what their intentions were.
Right.
Not their intent. This was the intent. This is how things were supposed to be. The working
This
class
is-
was supposed
this is,
to.
Yeah, this is how they're like, well, we can control you now because you don't have any money to do anything.
Right.
And then the people that do, they
They.
Pronouns.
Right.
and then
Fuck
the
you,
people
government.
that do sort of go into this caste system that, and like if you talk to anybody that's like in the middle class or like living in the suburbs or something like that, they're like, yeah, I live here because I like it, you know, things like that, because it's safer and whatever. And it's like, that's great, but how is society as a whole performing? You may be safe out here and you may feel safe out here, but like, how is society performing, right? Like how is
I could actually add into that because fortunately, like I'm very blessed. I'm able to live in a very like fortunate neighborhood. There's not a lot of crime going on and everything, but especially in Colorado, there's a lot of more homelessness going around, and as it surrounds the nicer areas, they migrate into in like the older areas, they migrate into the newer areas. They become full, and I don't know. It's just kind of like, how is the rest of society doing? And it kind of reflects because they'll come to you. They'll come to those nicer areas looking for a shelter, a place to make some money, whatever it is. But I think they definitely migrate away from like the older parts into the newer ones.
And that's the homeless that are going through it as well. But I mean, you say like $30,000 in poverty. I would say like even in today's day and age, someone who's making $70,000 to $80,000, like even at that point, $70,000 to $80,000 a year, that is like barely still enough to live comfortably or pay your bills, enjoy your life, take a trip or two. Like
that's like bare minimum.
That's and the fact that, like you say, minimum wage. What is minimum wage at like $15 an hour through?
Not even, bro. And that's in like the metro
30
area.
what is it?
Some
Denver
areas
is
it's still
almost like
not.
13.
I mean, federally, I think it's still 7.
7, yeah.
Right? So like,
And this
we
is
have-
over
we have-
30 years. Over 30 years of like taxes increasing, prices like.
Right.
And back to mental health, it's like, what the fudge? I can't do anything about this because I'm having to deal with the circumstances that
gotta
our world is
for
evolving
it.
into, but my money is staying stagnant.
It moves, but it like what you gotta buy will always be more expensive, and the price for that will always go up way more than. But then again, minimum wage is not meant or set for people to live off of. That's like a thing for you to work there, get money, and then
That's
like
a systematic problem, in my opinion.
go to
Minimum wage should
school
allow
and
you
then make money.
Like he said, though, even if you're not making minimum wage, say you're making 70 to 80 and you're very limited, they're just paying you just enough so you can create that more generational wealth.
So you have to stay there. But like you say, minimum wage isn't supposed to allow you to live. I think when I think of like the right world and how things should work, minimum wage should at least allow you to survive. A minimum wage should be enough to at least allow you to pay your own bills and feed yourself.
But not at a house. Or like, so like you would
Well,
have
it
to
really
go-
depends because as
Why
minimum
not?
wage goes up,
What's the point of
all
minimum
prices
Right,
are
I guess,
going to
What
go
is
up.
it the minimum wage of, you think? It's the minimum wage of living. And so the way that it was introduced was that it was a social safety net for people that needed to live, that needed to afford housing, that needed to afford food for their kids, that needed to afford kids.
Right.
And so
For
like,
life.
and so that's why it was set up after the Great Depression, was that it needed to happen because corporations were
Being
not
too greedy.
being too greedy and not paying their people, and,
Yep.
and that's sort of like, so it is a minimum wage, but of living. People need to be able to live off of it because there will always be less. there will always be labor jobs. There will always be certain kinds of jobs. There will always be blue and white collar jobs. There will always be jobs.
Which is good.
I guess the minimum wage is definitely like a safe net because I've worked in a lot of like jobs at minimum wage, and as I was there just to have a job in high school, there were a lot of parents and grown people
working the same job.
amount of job I am to raise their kids and family, and pay their mortgage.
Same paycheck that they're raising. Their
That's
kids on.
Dude. Are you kidding? How many different
That's what I'm
coworkers
saying.
I have working in fast food? Like it's crazy that I'm paid the same, but you're raising 2 children.
I'm even like just above that minimum wage, and that's not even close enough for anything.
And the worst thing is that we just think of all we're thinking about when we think about this is money, and we're broke and we can't afford these things, and we're not thinking about how our mental health is literally depleting every time we have to worry
At
about
that
our
point,
financial
it's sad to
problems.
say, but for you, your mental health is your last thing that you think about when you got to look into
Which
stuff like that. And
I think
that's
it shouldn't
obviously
be.
it's
what's
definitely
bad,
personal.
but
It's definitely personal because it's like for me, mental health definitely isn't on the top of my list when it comes to achieving a lot of things and growing day to day on like I don't know. Different
Until recently, I have agreed big time too. Until like
It definitely
right. It's like you can't even afford to think about it.
Yeah.
right. You can't afford
I gotta think on these burgers. I can't be thinking about
gotta,
my
like-
brain. Like,
You're either going to your mental health problems or paying bills.
Yeah.
And there's almost like no in between.
The unfortunate
Unless if
part
you're like
is you're focusing on your mental health. Other one is you're ruining it. And that's
right,
kind of
yeah, and they don't go together for sure. It's you're working on one, the other's going down.
I think they do
No.
work together. It just takes a very long and certain time in someone's life to get there.
well, it's dependent on money, right? It's dependent on happiness. It's
money.
dependent on like if you have time to invest in the things
Right.
that bring you joy. It's so like if you're constantly in this fight to provide for yourself, you don't have the facilities or the time to invest in yourself in a meaningful way upstairs.
Yeah.
And so like if you're constantly worrying about bills, if you're constantly worrying about how you're going to get somewhere because you don't have a car, if you're constantly worrying about, hey, my family's getting older and I don't know if I have enough money for a plane ticket if someone passes, just as an example.
For example,
That was a great example. That was
like,
real.
So like you have incidentals, you have regular things, and then you have like compliance things. What if you get a ticket on your car that's $100, but you only made $75 that day because you worked 10 hours at $7.50?
Yeah.
probably you're gonna get taxed extra on your extra last 2 hours. And then how are you supposed to fit into all these bills, your ticket, your therapy session that's gonna cost 3 days of your work?
Exactly. How do you do that? And so the system isn't actually built to like maintain any of these things. It's built to like sort of cycle people out. And like that's unfortunate. And like the capitalist system,
Right.
again, not to get political, but like the capitalist
And
system. is sort
I've
of-
always been told who else is going to do it. You know, like there's always going to have to be that one person to make these restaurants go, and we're going to be the ones, pulling up to the restaurant or whatever it is.
Let it
and they're
burn.
going to be the ones serving us.
Let it burn.
Always going to have to be there.
And that's the scariest part, like we say, is that we kind of have to accept it. I know it sucks to say specifically with mental health, like you just have to like accept things for the way they are, but hierarchy, like, I mean, things that are like out of our control, I feel like it's almost impossible to like worry about trying to control, like, why aren't we getting paid enough to do this?
Yeah.
That's why I think there has to be natural ways, I don't want to say free because I know nothing is free, time is money, but more natural and genuine ways to improve your mental health than using money to
Something
Fine.
that we actually learned recently was that, and this is specifically to Denver, but they're building a park over I-70, a certain section of I-70, right? And so like it's connecting a historically redlined district with that's been stricken by poverty because it's redlined by the city or has been historically, so they can't put businesses in there and they can't put food in there, they can't put these things, and so they're building a park now that connects sort of across I-70 that had been a divider for a really long time. And so I think increasing green spaces increases mental health, faculties.
I've seen
That's
that
so
done somewhere else. I've seen something like that. And then where like in some countries where they do like reverse, like when you no like where you build like city and then you got highways and stuff and they reverse it and they go back to the old days where you actually have a park where there used to be a major highway and they put the highway somewhere else and it worked out. It showed that it did work out and it's obviously very possible because they've done it in multiple countries. I also did want to say something about the whole money and pretty much the rich just gets richer, and then we just all get fucked. Did you guys see the whole
Capitalism, baby, capitalism.
the whole Walmart thing? So you know Walmart makes like hold on.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I've been quiet, letting you guys talk. Let me talk.
Best.
Thank you. Yes. Walmart makes like $150 billion a year or something like that, and they're complaining about losing like $1 billion a year in theft. And the CEO of no, it's bad because the CEO of Walmart said that he's willing to shut down every single Walmart if the theft doesn't stop.
Yeah, he's like,
And it's
we can't
right,
operate.
like, you're telling me, hold on, you're telling me you're
Do it,
willing
Mr.
to get
Wall.
rid of $150 billion a year
Just for $1
$1 billion that
Do
people
it.
can't afford to buy a piece of chicken.
I will literally drive to his house and lick the inside of his teeth if he does that.
That would be amazing. I would fucking. That'd be amazing. Please close Walmart. But you know what that reminds me of? Have you guys ever seen that quote that says like you start out the day with I don't know how many seconds in the day, but it was like 16,000
and you let
pennies
that
or
one
dollars.
finger when you're
One
dead.
person takes $1, you're gonna spend the rest
Yeah,
of your
that's
day.
so annoying to me.
And I mean,
But it's
obviously
real. It's
that
just
relates
like
to junk.
putting it in a way where we understand it because it's about money.
But also, I feel like
That's
why
also a
say
mental
that?
health thing, though.
Because everybody that's been stealing now, they're just gonna do it even more until they just close until they're done. stealing.
The thing is, I think they're
yeah,
just trying
hopefully,
to
and then they
stop
go
it.
to Target, and then
And then-
Target does the same thing, and then we go back to a mom and pop shop deal where we can just barter with chicken.
Or we can actually pay for,
Right,
or we can
currency's
actually
not all
afford our
that.
fucking groceries for the week and not have to put them on a
right.
grocery.
I've seen like I think it was just a meme, but like where like
I don't want to look at this.
pizza stores now offer like options for loan on
I think that's a me.
Layaway pizza.
That's me.
I love
Yeah.
pizza and I love debt. So
right. And I don't know if it was just a meme or what, but I saw it and it was like, but it was like a website. I don't know if someone created a whole website just for a joke, but like it was a whole website about like how you can just pay monthly for your.
And I believe
I wouldn't put it behind him.
Believe it.
right? No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Here, take some money, buy some pizza. This is a loan.
Worry about it later.
Yeah, and then pay it later. Like there are functions that are able to do that now. I think that like a credit card.
Oh,
Right. Like, are we talking about a
There's
credit
ways you
card?
can do
Yeah.
that.
or almost
It's
any.
just like a credit card with extra steps. It's
The amount of money they make off of credit cards and interest.
Interest rate, dude? That's crazy.
No, not interest rates, but like off of interest on your debt.
Oh, wait, yeah.
That's why I make
It's
sure
the
that I don't
company's
have debt.
dream is to, for the
Period.
pizza place's dream to
Right.
be able
I
to
have a good
pay
job.
for your pizza.
Right.
2 weeks
Not a minimum.
Yeah, it's like the pizza's $20, but you're giving me 50 because you're not paying today, you're paying tomorrow.
yeah.
Our world is fucked, man. And
Well, before we fuck our word
It's
more, I
my
think this
world
is a
and you
good
all
way.
are just living
This
in
is
it.
a good way to slow it down and end it, maybe.
take therapy.
Fuck the world a little bit more.
Therapy is cool, and if anybody ever makes you think going to therapy,
Talk,
Yeah,
talk to your
cool.
friends, man.
Yeah.
Look, if
I
there's
saw a
anything
great
going
joke
on,
about mental health.
I'm talking about mental health. Yes, I'm about a joke. Go ahead.
Taylor Swift is going on tour. Give me some tickets.
It was an Instagram thing. All right, no, guys, listen to my joke.
your jokes are gonna be
I don't care. Listen to my damn joke.
Your end of the
We need to end this.
Don't cancel us.
Well, you
This
guys
was
are
a good
interrupting
video.
me. You guys are interrupting me. It was my friend telling me, "Why don't you go to therapy and get rid of all that generational trauma?" I tell him I'm getting
That's my personality, first of
getting
all.
rid of all my generational trauma by pulling out.
Period.
Nah, stop. That's not.
That's not
on.
a family friendly.
You guys get it?
See?
I'm pulling out the generational trauma by pulling out. That was
That's how we end the
It's just ending
podcast.
the whole generation.
right.
Not even
Ending
the trauma.
the
Trauma
blood
isn't
It's
good.
just the whole generation.
All right, that's
I
how.
think. Wait, Shadi, I think you need to stop giving jokes. At the end
Dude,
of the
I think my
podcast, is
jokes
my
are the best
opinion.
part.
I don't know, man.
Can we give a special thanks? Hey, Zach. Let's give a special thanks
Okay,
to Zach
yes.
first of all.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
Zach,
well,
thank you so much.
thank you
for
so
showing up
much.
and sitting through our mayhem.
This has
and
been great.
chaotic.
This is probably the most I've opened up during a freaking podcast.
I know, Marcel. You really touched his soul, by the way. I
Thank you
definitely
for
did.
having me. Thank you.
Talking about opening it up before we end it, we have to give him that
shout out.
you know that you guys gotta. If there's anything going on with your life, you gotta talk to someone about it before
Yeah.
it's too late. You just
Just talk to somebody.
literally it doesn't have to be a therapist.
Suicide
I mean,
hotline 988.
You're wanted
1-8.
here. You're wanted
It's
here.
1-800.
Yeah.
I thought it was 988.
we'll put it on the screen. It'll be on the screen.
Okay.
And we gotta put a trigger
It'll be on the
warning
screen.
before. We should put a trigger warning before the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. And
Yes,
mental health is scary. And
Yeah, so you want to put a trigger warning too.
put a trigger warning on your life as well.
Yeah.
Like be like, hey, mental health's super scary, but I need to talk about it. And if you don't have anybody to talk to that's in your nuclear or immediate circle, there is the suicide hotline that will be posted. Just reach out to somebody. If you want to reach out to me, my DMs are open on Instagram. I will respond. Just reach out to somebody. It's important. Mental health is an all-encompassing, and it's a group activity. And humans need groups in order to feel fulfilled. Even if you think you're the loneliest loner,
the black sheep,
right?
of the group.
If you think you're the black sheep, that means you need to talk to somebody even more.
And I think you could agree, Zach, that this is like a group not project, but this is a group solution. I think this is not something that somebody's going to do on their own.
You can't.
That we have to work on this together to
It's a society
encourage.
thing.
Yeah, and
It's a society thing.
we have to work on encouraging each other to work on knowing that it's okay to not be okay. As cliche as that sounds, like
I think all of us are going through a quarter life crisis, and this was our solution. Podcast.
I'm at a third life crisis.
Yeah.
Is that
Please.
I hope this is quarter life. I don't know, man. I'm getting pretty scared.
All right. Thank you,
All right,
everybody.
everybody. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
everyone for watching.
Peace, everybody.
Zach's live.
The live, if
y'all.
anybody's
Bob out.
there,
Peace out.
4f.o.b.s are out.
Back out.
Zach's out as
Zach
well.
out.
Everybody's out. Mic dropped.